if a client decides to go ahead with a concept design and price, they can do that for $1,800. It's not a huge commitment in terms of cost. Of course, there's a time impost. They need to meet with our designer, who needs to measure the home and take some photos and get to know the clients or the owners of the home a lot better, so that we can get the right outcome. But overall, very little risk.
Yeah.
And at some point, they're going to have a design sketch that we know is going to be what they want and within a known budget before we have to go any further.
Yeah, it'll be quoted right down to the dollar, really. And for that $1,800, they're obviously getting our time and 3D concept plans, which are quite amazing. But they're also getting that feature survey done by a licensed surveyor, where we go and check the existing home, the setbacks to existing boundaries, where trees are, where other features are, and importantly what's going on in adjacent properties, because that's just as important when we're designing.
Yep.
The proposed is to ensure that we're compliant with looking after the neighbours as well.
You could get a copy of title with all that, and those documents they can keep.
Yeah. The feature survey, I'd like to think, is something that Supergroup pride themselves on as a point of difference perhaps to what other builders aren't doing. I would like to think that a good reputable builder should be checking those things as part of the process to ensure accuracy, and to really ensure that things aren't going to be picked up down the track that could have been picked up earlier. That's going to avoid nasty conversations about town planning or additional costs, excavation depths, retaining walls required, whatever it might be. To get that stuff figured out early, it's really important.
I think that's something that we follow through, not just at the initial design stage, but all the way through. If you look at the next stage, once a client wants to go to the next step, we're doing a lot more work up front. Because that's the nature of what we do. We try and be transparent.
Yeah.
I don't like it when there's a surprise for a client down the track. They're 6 months down the track, they're heavily committed,
Yeah.
they can't really go anywhere else, and by the way, there's a price change because of something that we could have known earlier.
Yeah. And all for $1,800 when you consider that an architect or a designer is probably going to charge you at least double that, without potentially some of the survey results and things like that. To get a great degree of certainty, there's certainly no profit involved in it as far as Supergroup goes. It's just really to cover the cost, the initial cost, and we would hardly do that. We have a lot of clients question us on copyright. Who owns this design? I'm going to pay you $1,800. Can I take this design elsewhere? And unfortunately the answer is no. $1,800 really barely covers our costs. And what we're proposing is something that we've put a lot of thought into, our designers pride themselves on, and we'd really like the opportunity and the probability of building that project. So we do, unfortunately, reserve the rights for the copyright.
I think it's the same. Clients will often bring plans to us, and the first question's always got to be, have we got the ability to use these plans?
Totally.
And you've got to remember, the alternative is going elsewhere. It's going to be many, many times that $1,800,
Yes.
and you're still restricted on what you can do.
Yeah.
So it's really an investment, I guess, from Supergroup, or a backing of ourselves, that for that $1,800, the client is going to get some value, but they're a potential building client. We're not talking about someone we've done some drawings, see you later. We're talking about someone we want to build for
and I think
and live with.
Statistics show that about half of the designs we design, they do actually go ahead with the build too, which is quite important.
Yep.
The $1,800, you're going to get a quote, all right? At the end of the process, which is quite a quick process, let's say you've met a designer and we've done a design. The concept design's completed, we've got 3D concept plans, and the client loves it. We go into that quoting process. That quoting process really is going to take under a week. They'll then know, largely speaking, what's included and what's not included. We'd like to think of ourselves as a one-stop shop, so we're going to include everything from joinery to painting to external finishes and the like. They'll know, largely speaking, that price is going to be reasonably accurate to move ahead to a contract.
And look, there will be some things that we can't tell. So we don't know what's in the ground. We've got some idea. We build in a lot of areas on a regular basis. We've got a good idea what foundation requirements might be needed.
Yep.
But at that stage, for $1,800, we haven't got full engineering. We haven't had an energy rating.
Yep.
There are still costs that need to be confirmed, But again, I think it's important to know that we do allow for these things.
Yes.
Based off our experience of the areas and the types of homes that we're building. It's not a guarantee, but we're a long way down the path.
That's right. And a good designer will also give clients some assurity based on their experience. I'll give you this quote, and let's say it's $400,000 for the project. And as a matter of speaking, we'd like you to keep a small contingency up your sleeve because there may be some few unknowns that go through with it, but it's not going to be $100,000 or $200,000. We may just say keep $20,000 up your sleeve as a good process, shall we say?
It's also worth understanding. We might get it right the first time, and we might hit the client's budget and give them exactly what they're wanting, but sometimes there might be redesigns in order to tinker with the design to get client a better price response or more area or whatever it is that they're after. So it's an iterative process, and it might take 2 or 3 goes at getting it to where it wants, and the client doesn't have to commit until they're happy with the design and happy with the price.